Welcome to the studio, and I'm going to talk today a little bit about some of the tools and materials that you'll need to get started with daily painting, particularly if you're going to participate in the 5-day painting challenge. If you haven't signed up for that yet, hop on over and do that. The pinned post is in Artwork Living, and you can also find it on my website, but I'll share it again in the description up above once I hop off. And I have a number of things I wanted to talk to y'all about today. So when you're getting ready to start a daily painting project, whether it's the challenge that we're going to have in the Artwork Living group, or if you're doing a 30-day challenge, or if you're being really smart and just starting to really intentionally practice painting every day in your studio, there's some things you can do material-wise that'll make it a whole lot easier. One of those is to prep your panels or your canvases ahead of time. So I have a stack of different materials over here I'm going to show you in just a minute. I tend to recommend that people work a little smaller than they might normally do because smaller is easier to do faster. Remember, the main goal of daily painting is not to produce a highly finished work of art every single day. It's to put time onto your brush or your palette knife and get that muscle memory going so that it becomes an activity you don't have to overthink, that you can get into the flow really easily and paint faster. So they don't all have to be good, they just have to be done. Done is better than perfect. So one of the sizes that I recommend is a 5x7. So I'm going to take y'all over to my Tabaret and let you have a look at some of these that I have pulled out. I can switch the camera around here. So I have here a piece of Arches oil paper that I have attached to a foam core board. So it comes in sheets or in a pad. It is already prepped and ready to go. You don't even have to gesso it. You can just dive right into painting on it. Great surface, and it is archival. Feels a lot like watercolor paper, but it's easy to transport. I like it because you can cut it into whatever size you want to work with. So right here I've cut these into about 5x9s, 5x8s, something like that, which is one of my favorite sizes. The reason that I put it onto a foam core board is I like to be able to paint all the way to the edges. I can't stand to have those edges blocked by clips or the edge of the panel holder or anything like that. All it takes is the magic of Scotch tape. So I put a roll of Scotch tape right here, right here, right here, 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 and here when it's on a bigger panel, and I'll put just 4 on a small panel like a 5x7. That'll hold it, and that'll hold it for a long time. So oil paper is one surface that you might want to work on. If you're working in acrylics, acrylic watercolor paper. Watercolor paper works great as well for acrylics. You don't need to do any real prepping on watercolor paper for acrylics. It's good to go as well. Then for panels, I love the ampersand gesso boards because they are, again, ready to go. You don't have to do a lot to them. You don't need to gesso them. And so they're really nice, thin 1/8 inch panels. Again, I use Scotch tape to hold those onto a foam core panel, and it holds it extremely securely. I've used those even in travel and not ever had a problem with them coming loose. So just 4 rolls of tape on the back of that will hold it securely. I tend to use the 9x12 pieces of foam core board because my panel carriers are sized for the 9x12, the ones I use the most. And I can put whatever size I want to on that panel and then dive right on in. So this one is blank and ready to go. You can put even larger panels onto a piece of foam core board. So you can see this one that I've been working on is a Raymar panel, which is my absolute favorite. They're a little bit more expensive, but well worth it. This particular one is a little thicker. I really like the Raymar Featherweight or Featherlight panels because they're really thin and super lightweight. This is an 8x10, so that'll still fit onto one of those 9x12 pieces of foam core. And again, it's only attached with Scotch tape, and it's not going anywhere. See, I'm shaking it hard, and it's not going to come loose. So I would suggest that if you're going to do the daily painting challenge that's coming up, that you go ahead and get the panels that you're going to work on, keep them about the same size. Work smaller than you normally do, but don't go any smaller than you feel comfortable with. And then one of the other main suggestions I have is that you work with larger knives or brushes, so that, here you can see my knives, so that you don't get too caught up with details. Knives are easier to clean more quickly, but brushes will work as well. If you're going to use a brush, use a large brush. I wouldn't go much smaller than like a number 6, so that you don't get too caught up in finicky details, because you're doing studies, not finished paintings necessarily. Save on paint. So what I would do is get a Masterson box, like this you see right here. Make sure that you have a piece of plexiglass that's the same size, and you can drop that right down into the box at the end of the day. You don't need to clean the palette off. Take a Q-tip. Let me drop that plexi in. Take a Q-tip and put 3 or 4 drops of clove oil on either end and drop it in the side. See how I'm putting that in the side over there. And then do the same thing on the other side and seal it with the lid, and that'll keep it wet even if you have to skip a day. But that way you have a much easier time not having to remix paint every day. The other suggestion that I want you to think about doing is using the double primary palette that I've talked about so much. So that's the Warm and the Cool Blue, Warm and the Cool Red, Warm and the Cool Yellow, White, and then I have several convenience colors that I add in there as well. So the ones that I like to use are dioxazine purple, or in Williamsburg it's called Egyptian violet. I love Terra Verte, so I use that a good bit. Also like Italian green ochre, use that a good bit as well, and Montserrat orange. Those are the main convenience colors that I use. There are a few others, but not that many. And with that basic palette, you've pretty much got everything covered. So then you're not overthinking trying to find which colors you're going to be working with. So then let's see if there's anything else that I haven't covered there. I'm going to switch back to FaceTime. Sorry about all the tech difficulties today. I think I am just beset with the tech genies not cooperating. So the other thing that, again, I do want to recommend is that you think about using the painting knives, just because it does make that cleanup so much easier. But if you've never used them before, the first time you do it, you might not want to do it in a more public challenge. So stick with something that works, that you know how to use. So anybody have any questions? Henny says, I would love to know your palette. Could not hear. Sorry about that. I use ultramarine blue. I'll take it back up to the palette. Ultramarine blue and phthalo blue. And I have all of them right here. And Indian yellow, yellow ochre. Then I have the Williamsburg equivalent of Naphthol red, which I don't have out right now, and crimson. So I have the 2 reds. Then I use Gamblin's Flake White Replacement. So let's see, you can see them down here. The Flake White Replacement. Then I also use a lot of Italian green ochre, the dioxazine violet or Egyptian violet if you're using the Williamsburg, and Montserrat orange. That is pretty much it. So I don't use a whole lot of colors because from that right there, plus the two reds that I don't have out right now, you can mix almost everything. So it gives you a lot of variation that you can work with. So let's see if there are any other questions that people had. If you have another question, pop it in really quickly. I've got time for just one or two. Let's have a webinar with my students coming up in just a little bit. I think that the flake white, it's not flake white, it's flake white replacement. Let me get a good shot of that. I love the flake white replacement because it's thick and heavy like real flake white without the danger of working with lead. Real flake white is made with lead, and I don't want lead in my studio. Gamblin makes this fabulous white. They actually make the best whites all around, but they make this fabulous flake white replacement. It's titanium white that's been thickened naturally, so it's a little heavier. Titanium white works fine, but this is just a little bit thicker, and I really like the body of it. The white you want to stay away from is zinc. Zinc embrittles really easily, so don't use white that has zinc in it. But Gamblin has a tremendous range of whites. Here's another one that I love, and that is warm white. So it is a little warmer than the regular flake white. It's like you mixed a tiny little bit of ochre in with it. So it's nice to have in the studio. I have a small tube of it I take when I go outside to paint, but it's not something you have to have because you can mix it. It's just nice to have it as a convenience. Beverly says, what color do you cover your canvases with? That's a great question, Beverly. I use yellow ochre. So my preference is, when I have time, is to take the yellow ochre oil paint and tone the canvases first so they're ready to go when I'm ready to paint, because it takes a day or so for that to dry. I apply it with a paper towel or a cloth really thinly without using solvent, and then it's ready to go. If I don't have as much time, I'll use the golden yellow ochre acrylic. So it's almost always yellow ochre just because that's the one that to me most closely resembles, that's my big finger there, most closely resembles the light here in South Carolina. But I know people who tone with more of a magenta or a crimson or a blue. It's really up to you. You have to decide what you like. The orange, somebody's asking about which orange. It's Montserrat orange, and it's a Williamsburg color. Basically, it's a coral that has white in it already. So that one I use a lot, so I do buy that and take the tube out with me, even if I'm going outside to paint, because I use it so much. But you can mix it relatively easily. It's just naphthol red, Indian yellow, and white. So let's see, about the canvas size, Bobby. I prefer, when I'm doing daily paintings, about a 5x7. If you are used to working, say, on a 16x20 and a 5x7 feels tiny, go to a 6x8. But go to the smallest size for the daily painting challenge that you feel comfortable with. So it's going to be different for different people, but I really like the 5x7 size. I go down to the 4x6 as well. Itty bitty smaller than that is not something I find fun. I like really small paintings and really large paintings, not much in between. So I don't know if y'all can see behind me, but there's a 4x6er behind me, and over there a 5x6. So I like really big paintings and really small paintings. In between, I find a little boring. So it's the drama of the big ones and the tiny ones. But you can't do a 5 by 6 foot painting very easily in an hour. So that's why I'm suggesting everybody go a little smaller. Let's see. Hey, Dave, you didn't know I was an artist? Ha! Yes, that's how I make my living for a long time. Candy says, missed the first part, got hung up on the stalled. Yeah, sorry. The mixing of the colors is before the painting starts. So what we're working on in the challenge, the 5-day challenge, is 20-minute paintings, 20 to 30 minutes. Mixing the color doesn't count towards the 20 or 30 minutes. It's just the painting time. So mix your color ahead, and then you've got that 20 or 30 minute time to paint. And I would put the timer on your phone to go off, the alarm to go off, so that you don't go over. You can go back and finish it later, but the goal is to get faster, to speed up and not get too caught up in the details. So you can mix ahead. I think those are all the questions I have. If anybody has any other questions, let me scroll back through really quickly to see if I'm missing anything. Yes, this is recorded. Thank goodness. I'm hoping I haven't lost anything. Whoever's asking about that, I'm going to have to splice them together because we have two separate part 1 and part 2 since the technology was not cooperating this morning at all. Let's see. I think those are all the questions that I see right now. If anything else comes to mind, absolutely post it here in the comments below and I will chat back in. Yeah, these are recorded so you can access the videos later here on the page, or if you're in Artwork Living, they'll be in the feed there as well, but the recordings stay on my Facebook page. Cleve asked, do I use any medium or just OMS? I don't use OMS at all. I don't use solvents ever. So they're not good for you. It's bad for your respiratory system, bad for the environment. And I have a studio in a space in a building with a lot of other people, so I don't want to fumigate the halls. So it's also a big fire hazard. I don't use medium very much at all. If I use a medium, it is Gamblin's solvent-free medium or gel. So I think that's it. Yay, you got a timer? That's a good idea. Yes, I do, Terry, I do mix different values of each color. And the painting can be of anything, Milica, absolutely. That's up to you. So the medium's open, the subject's open, the size is open. The only thing I want you to work on, the thing that we're focusing on, is working faster. So I want you to try to go for 20 or 30 minutes. So that's all for right now. Look forward to talking with you again soon. Thank y'all for joining me. Bye-bye for now.